wow. So, have we heard from Alan Arnold? No. Well, we do have 3, so. Okay. Camera's all fired up. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and call to order our Riverdale City Council meeting for Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. Let the record show that we have 3 members present, Councilor Anderson, Councilor Richter, and Councilor Stevens. We are expecting Councilor Hanson. She has let us know she's running late, and we hope to see Councilor Arnold as well. We have members of the city staff here as well as members of the public. We'll go ahead and get started with, actually, Councilor Arnold was scheduled for our Pledge of Allegiance. Councilor Richter, will you lead us in that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Please rise. Join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll offer our invocation. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful that we could meet here this evening in this city council meeting. We're grateful for the favorable circumstances under which we meet in the beautiful city of Riverdale and the freedoms that we enjoy in this country. And we ask at this time that Thou would help us to make decisions that will benefit and represent the residents to which we've been elected to represent. Please bless that we can make decisions that are in accordance with Thy will. We're grateful for all our city employees here in Riverdale and for the great work that they do, and we ask a blessing upon them that they might continue to perform to the best of their abilities, and that they might be watched over and protected each day, that they might return home to their families. Also at this time, as there's turmoil in the world, we are grateful for those that protect us and those that are willing to sacrifice their lives to fight for the freedoms we enjoy. We ask that those world leaders might be led and guided to make decisions that will lead to peace and will be in accordance with Thy will as well. Please bless us with Thy Spirit throughout this meeting, that it will lead us and guide us, and then when the time comes, we can all return home safely. And we say these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. We will go ahead and start. We have a time for public comment. This is an opportunity to address the City Council regarding any concerns or ideas you may have. No action will be taken by the City Council during this time. If you do approach the microphone, please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. State your name and the city in which you reside. Come on up.
My name is John Cypers. I live at 4875 South, 1700 West. That's that strip of property between the old railroad tracks and the freeway. I bought that property from Mayor Jones some 55 years ago. We've lived there for 54 years. The reason we moved there was A1. Master plan shows that entire section as being A1. If you start at the south end, Amber Herrick has that orchard. I'm sure you're all familiar with the orchard. That's a multi-generational house. Next door to her is Stimson's. That's a multi-generational house. I'm living there, and my grandson is going to purchase the house, which makes it a multi-generation. And the one next to me, the Ivies, that too is a multi-generational house. Now, going forward to the north, they've dissected that to where they've got some commercial operations going there. I have the videos some years ago, 3-4 years ago, I don't know. Anyway, the council approved some storage garages. But the persons who own this property have turned that into a distribution center. I have videos of semis coming in and out of there and dropping loads, and then pickup trucks taken. To me, that's a distribution center. So my concern is, some years ago again, the old property that used to be Cecil Roberts's is now Chris Ripley. The people that have the duplex, or the fourplex, and then the property behind it, acquired half of Chris Ricklinger's lot. That, as far as this shows, is still A1. And yet these folks want to build some garages. We don't know exactly what it is. The neighbor was talking to him and he said, oh, we're going to build something big. Now, the reason they've held off for this long is, I don't know if you're aware, but the railroad tracks behind my house, all the way up, are discontinued. They don't have the railroad tracks anymore. Anyway, the state took it over. We were approached by some attorneys in Kansas City that we could get paid for that property from our fence line back to the road on 1750. Why not? We did it. 3 years later, we won. So every one of those parcels was awarded $55,000. Anyway, so this is why these two gentlemen are making their move now. It's because they've got that money. So anyway, my concern is that my beloved A1 agricultural property is being moved away by, institutes or whatever you want to call it that really don't belong there in an A1. And that's my concern.
All right. Well, thank you for coming tonight, John.
Yeah, I know it's probably not going to happen right away. It's going to be sometime down the road, but if you're aware of what's going on our side of the story, it might help. So, and if in fact that does come up, I would appreciate being contacted so the entire street can come down and where everybody has the same feelings as I do. Thank you.
I do have a quick question for you.
Yes.
So, I know where you live, and that was ARS disaster cleanup for a while, that big building, but it's not anymore, huh?
No, that's on the other side of 4800.
Okay.
You notice that's industrial, that red strip.
Yeah.
We're from the green strip down.
Okay.
There we go. Again, the master plan was
Yeah.
A1. but
Okay.
We're just kind of nibbling away at it there.
Councilor Stevens has a question for you, too.
It's Cecil Roberts' lot was, they're acre lots, but they run deep. But Cecil's was also wide, and he kind of then he moved and it changed owners a few times and they subdivided it.
Somebody bought the back half of that.
And they sold off the back half. And so as I look on GeoGizmo, that looks like it's a smaller than an acre. Now, do you know who Mr. Cooper is in the blue shirt? Well, the one without the hat. Anyway, he's community development. Now, anyway, if you have questions, this gentleman here you can call him up.
Brandon Cooper?
Yes.
I talked to him a week ago.
Oh,
at the Planning Commission. He gave me his card. I've called
Okay.
him several times and I've yet to get an answer.
Well, there's not really an answer to be had.
Return my call.
Oh, well, okay. Then I won't respond. But the point of it is there are uses for A1 that, and I don't know and if they even need a permit to build those sheds or whatever they're doing. I don't know, but he
I
can.
don't either. That's why I'm here.
And so, or if they even need to look at them, but he would be the gentleman that. Anyway, I just walk into his office, as do other people.
I am concerned about the distribution center, though. Like, we probably need to look into that and see if...
When you pointed that out to me, I started watching that, and I take that road a little bit more frequently. And, not since they closed 4400, but anyway, it's something's going there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for the
John.
information. Okay, anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to presentations and reports. So for the mayor's report, just a couple of things. We had our Central Weber Sewer Improvement District meeting last night, and they have decided that they do not need to raise property taxes this year after their failed attempt last year. And so I think that's a great thing. Always good. They found some extra money and moved some stuff around, and so they did not get through the truth in taxation correctly last year, and now they don't even need to do it this year. So that's always a win in my mind. And then the only other thing is we had our lunch with the mayor today, and it was a great time. We were at the fire station, and We got Rich helped me get a list of suggestions from the kids on what they'd like to see, and they're always got some funny things. But one of them was less pollution, which I don't feel like we have a lot of pollution in Riverdale. But then they said cleaner water and some stuff like that. And there were some things about the parks, more flowers, more roundabouts. I thought was funny. I don't know if the residents would really be on with that. They'd have a heyday with that. But less houses, baseball fields. There's always some funny ones. There was more elephants. I don't know where that came from, but one of them that was specific to Mr. Douglas is a light at the crosswalk on the crosswalk at Riverdale Elementary. So that was something the kids think would be helpful. And wider streets. It's always just funny stuff. So anyway, it's a good time, and we had Riverdale Elementary there, which is always good. A lot of the kids were from Riverdale, so that's great. And that's all I have. So we'll move on to the city administration report. Mr. Brooks, what do you got for us?
Thank you, Mayor. All of the department heads' reports are in your packet. I don't know that I have a big contingency there tonight. I know Sean and Brandon are there. If you have any questions, we could try and address those, or if there's something you need me to pass on to somebody, we could certainly do that. Does anybody have anything you want to bring up while I'm on that topic? I will move on then. As far as the report itself and the reviews that I go through, again, if you look at the one that the bar chart there, that is always my favorite, our year-to-date financial there, you can see that we're in a healthy condition. We like to see that. As long as it maintains itself, we're in better shape than we've been for the last, well, this is now the 5th year that we're up on all those previous years, so we like to see that. I did have, there are some other things in there, but I won't touch upon them at this point unless you had some questions. There's some other charts in there, but I really have the department heads there to respond to some of those questions, which I'll be following up on. But as far as our employee recognition, if you've had a chance to look at that, Paul Flagg, even though it's not one of his celebrated years, I think we need to at least acknowledge the fact that he's got 43 years with Riverdale City, which would make him our oldest. Paul does a good job for us. He's doing our fire inspections and stuff now, so kudos to him and his accomplishments there. Also, Mr. Warner, and Casey is there tonight. 22 years for Casey, so congratulations to Casey as well. We really appreciate him as our chief, and he does a phenomenal job. In fact, just this afternoon, the mayor reached out to me about something, and within probably an hour, the thing was resolved and taken care of, which is the way he always handles stuff. So thank you, Casey, for all that you do for us. And he runs a great operation over there, and I know these guys respect him, as do we, the remainder of the staff. So Angie Pierce does have her 10 years. I don't think Angie is there, is she?
No.
I can see Stacy in there, but I don't see her here. But Angie handles a lot of our utility. Her biggest thing is our utility shutoffs and stuff, which is a project every month when that day rolls around. Her phone is nonstop, along with Sean's department, as far as handling the shutoffs. And then Officer Vasquez hits his 8 years this year. Another one of our fine employees. Staffing authorization. It's fairly accurate. We did printed this out. We did lose one individual, Jocelyn, who was handling our tech. She's our permit tech. She has since left us, not for any particular reason other than just family issues. She's got a couple of small children, and it was just really making it difficult for her to continue employment with the city. As I understand it, I saw a letter today. I believe an offer has been made. Brandon, I don't know if you want to make a comment on that, if that's been accepted, or if you want to give him any more information on that one.
Yeah, it's the permit tech position. We made the offer. It hasn't been accepted yet. We interviewed 5 people. We've had a number of applications, but we felt like this individual was the sharpest, and so we made the offer. We'll wait and see.
Okay. And then the only other one that's really standing out, not that it stands out that much, but it's fire, and I know they're working on that one as well. we had one of our fire guys leave us last month, I believe it was. So he acquired a position. I can't remember where it was, Kaysville, maybe it was another city. So beyond that, the community development report. Brandon, you got something you want to add? In addition to that, there was the one page that's in the packet, but if you had anything additional to add on that, go ahead and take that.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick things. Thanks to all of you who went to the Optic Clear ribbon cutting, the new business on Riverdale Road there at the old Nolan building. That was March 18th. And we do have the ribbon cutting for the Young Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealership. That's on April 24th at 10:30. Councilor Arnold, I emailed you about that. You're okay to do that? Thank you. And we're just dealing with a lot of development applications right now. Nothing to report at this meeting, but there's a lot of fun things coming that we'll have a chance to talk about, I'm sure.
They've actually gotten a lot better.
That's all I had, Mayor, for the city administration report.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, with that, move on to the consent items. Number 1, consideration to approve the meeting minutes from the April 7th, 2026 council meeting. Is there any changes or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, we would need a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Okay. That's good. That passes unanimously. We'll move on to our action items. Number 1, consideration of a site plan amendment for River Park Retail. Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got the applicant with us tonight, too, Mr. Brad Brown and Jason Thompson will, I'm sure, be available for some questions. This is familiar to you. This was a subdivision and site plan that came to you on March 3rd and was approved to go forward. Since that time, there was some changes that needed to be made by the applicant on their underground storage water system. I've got some maps, Michelle, if you wouldn't mind bringing those up. These are the maps in your packet. Your packet kind of goes through the original approved plan with the clouded item showing the original stormwater detention pond that's above grade. Let's see if we can move this around here. So this is the approved plan up at the upper right-hand corner. That was the approved stormwater pond. It was working in conjunction with an underground stormwater system that together met the requirements of the city to deal with the on-site stormwater. The applicant is requesting to change that a little bit. It's not your eyesight. It'll get there, maybe. We'll wait for it. It's in your packet. So they're requesting to change the underground stormwater system, essentially eliminating most of its function, and that has an effect on the above-ground stormwater detention pond. It enlarges it, and it has some effect on how the landscaping is designed. And so being it a site plan that was just recently approved, and because these amendments, these proposed amendments had an effect on what you approved, we felt it necessary to bring it back to you and seek a reapproval. So that we're dealing with this as a site plan amendment. And so with that, I'll ask Jason to come up and speak to the particulars, or Brad or somebody, and help us understand why the change so soon and what the implications are. Go ahead.
Will you push that button on that? There you go.
Good. Brad Brown, 719 West, 4350 South in Riverdale. I'm happy to be here. I mean, it's my town. I'm happy to be doing a project here. My kids are excited because they want to see a tropical smoothie cafe in here, so they're not letting me off the hook. And in fact, I just found out that my younger kids, their activity day activity tonight is to come to city council. So they should be showing up, a bunch of kids. But this is one of the first times where I'm not glad to be the first agenda item, but here we are. So anyways, yes, we are asking for, just an amendment to the design on the site plan. And there was a handful of reasons. I mean, obviously, as Brandon mentioned, financial feasibility is one thing, but as we looked at the overall design, what happened is these Coltech chambers with the water table, they're only about 18 inches tall, and that's why it's such a big footprint. The long-term stormwater management plan is also affected. Then the system we had on there also is not available out here. It's out east, and a lot of the groups we were looking at weren't willing to do that, so we would have had to redesign anyways. So anyways, we figured this is a better, more efficient design, and we didn't feel like it negatively affected the the project, what we can do and what that looks like. And in talking to Brandon, we recognize that aesthetics are important, and it's important to us too. We want this to be a good product and a good project long term. As to the landscaping that he mentioned, as I talked to my engineers, we didn't even have this discussion until it came up on here, but they had just designed it how they would design it, and there was no minimum standard they were trying to meet. So, if there's something we missed or something, we're willing to look at that. But overall, yeah, just a simple site plan amendment, and happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Questions from the council? Councilor Arnold.
Sean, are you okay with it?
Yeah, it'll work. As far as the stormwater system, it does change the landscape.
Okay, I'm really having trouble.
Sorry. So yes, it will work. It's a different design. It's above ground instead of below ground, which is more of the old school, like we used to do a lot more of that. But yeah, it works for sure.
Does anybody do underground? Like, or is there a system that
Yeah.
does work out here? Like,
Oh, we do a lot of underground.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. There is a
Yeah.
system.
So yeah, it can be done underground. Underground's more expensive typically.
Yeah.
How much parking was lost?
7.
So the impact to the site would be a reduction of 7 parking stalls, but they still meet the parking ordinance. So again, it's a change from the original, but it's not changing any of the regulations in terms of their compliance. The landscaping, as Brad mentioned, our landscaping does have some regulations. There is a reduction based on the movement of the dumpster and some of the enlargement of the pond. There's 45 less plants than what was originally approved. And so you'll see in the write-up that I talk about the nature of the pond, how it does meet our regulations, as Sean has mentioned. But if you do go ahead and approve this, I would recommend that you require that the same amount of landscaping stay. So that just move around the site. Instead of reducing the overall landscaping by 45 plants, I would recommend that if you approve it, you have them just reallocate that plant material elsewhere on the site to maintain the aesthetic.
Okay. The aesthetic, as I have observed, is between what used to be Joanne's parking lot and Sam's Club parking lot is I'm assuming that's a basin that has a lot of wetland look growth to it, reeds and willows and so on. Is that the aesthetic look you're going for?
So this one isn't designed to have any type of cleanup elements in it, so no vegetation type growth in it. It's more or less a rock basin with some plants around the exterior. So it would not be maintained in that same type of fashion.
And we don't want it to be that either. We don't want it to look like that on our site. So
Well, to me, when I hear maintain the aesthetic, that's what comes to mind. But
Well, the landscape plan's in front of you now. This is the one that you approved. You'll see that on the smaller pond, there were a number of plant material on the edge and down the slope. I don't know if these are going to show up effectively.
Mr. Cooper, I think you meant maintain the new site aesthetic, right? Not necessarily what's there now.
Exactly. So this idea of above ground stormwater ponds, we have a number of them across the city. We have a number of below ground. Both of them have challenges. Both of them have benefits. I've outlined that in your packet if you've read it. The challenges of an above ground pond is that they're easier to maintain. That's the benefit, but they're generally delayed in their maintenance until things get to be unsightly. And so they do produce, especially in an urban environment where land is scarce and land is at a premium, then these things generally tend to be land wasters, especially if they get large. So the idea of growing it, I think, is appropriate, but at the cost of the approved landscape, I thought that was something that we could ask that you just keep the same amount of plant material to maintain that overall aesthetic of the site. That's up to you.
Councilor Anderson.
My concern was, and you somewhat addressed that, but what type of rock basin is that going to be? Because as long as it's not grass, that you're trying to have to maintain that and water it and keep it.
Yeah, we're wanting
looking well.
to
But
stay
the rock,
water-wise.
is it large aggregate, smaller aggregate?
I would defer to my landscape architect on what's best, and I mean, I'm sure he would talk to Brandon, because there's two elements. There's one, the utility of it, but also the aesthetic. And I don't know, Jason, do you have any?
I think it's proposed right now for 3-inch aggregate,
Inch,
so the
minor.
larger rock in the bottom and the slope.
Okay.
As far as heat, you would have asphalt for 7 more parking spaces, which absorbs a lot more heat than a lighter colored rock. So there's a bit of a trade-off with that, but I would tend to agree with wanting to have more landscaping to make that so that it's presentable. And that would be my main concern, is that we keep the same aesthetic or build on that where we're taking away.
Yeah, and as we did a side by side today and looked at one versus the other, and I think we have less bushes by that's the majority of the number, but we had added more trees around the edge of that. But we're okay to design in more bushes again. I mean.
Yeah, this finally rendered itself. So you can see this is the proposed landscape plan for the enlarged pond. So they're still maintaining a perimeter edge of plant material around the pond there. The parking stalls have gone away. The dumpster enclosure that was there has moved over to that island closer to the building. And so as a result, there's just a displacement of 45 plants that are no longer on the plan. So that's just my recommendation, that this is entirely appropriate to meet the regulation for stormwater management. And the staff recommendation is that you ask that if approved, they maintain the same quantity of plants. There is a reduction in shrubs and an addition of a couple of trees, but the overall net reduction was like 45. I have a little bit of a hard time with it. It was fairly contested when we brought it to the council before. I don't know if everybody remembers, but it was a 2-2 tie, and I had to break the tie. And there was lots of concerns about the look of the site, and so I'm struggling with it, to be honest. That we got it over the hump, and then it's kind of come back, and I don't think it's going to look quite as nice. I'm not a huge fan of the detention basins, of the above ground ones, and I was excited for what you had in place. So anything that we can do to make it look better, whether it's maintain all the plants or whatever, I'm kind of disappointed, to be honest, the way it's come back. And so I hope we can still have a good project. It'll still look good. It's like going 4 times the size, right? No. I had that on the
capacity is
on the packet. And Jason, you might want to correct me. This was my calculation. The original approved pond was approximately 4,800 cubic feet, and what they're proposing is about 1,600 cubic feet. Is that right? Yeah.
But as far as footprint, it's
Right. The
much less
footprint,
just based
Yeah.
on.
that's depth and width and all that, but the footprint is only enlarging. The depth of those parking stalls are 18 feet, so it's enlarging about 18
So
feet.
it's going from 4,000 to 1,600?
16,000.
So
Did I
it is
say
4
100?
times, but it's going to be
Volume-wise.
4,800 to 16,000.
Yeah, so it's going to be
Volume-wise.
absorbed in the depth of it, I guess. Anyway, I have kind of mixed feelings about it. I hope we still get a good project. I hope we don't have another thing like this, to be honest. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like it barely got by, and now we're modifying it and maybe losing a little bit of what we got or what we had originally. So hopefully we can still end up with a really nice looking product. I mean, because I'm the one that broke the tie. If it doesn't look good, I feel like it's kind of on me. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Arnold?
My problem is maintenance. Just however it comes in, Sam's Club has put in the turf and having the trees instead of bushes and plants and all that kind of stuff. And when you go over to Lowe's, I absolutely hate the islands of landscaping in the parking lot. They're just a pain, and it's because we have a percentage of landscaping in there, so you gotta do what you can to put that in there, and that stuff just doesn't make sense to me, but, that's the numbers that we've chosen to put upon ourselves, and, I'm not a fan of this project anyway, so, just the way it sets up and fits within the world.
Councilor Anderson?
Could you explain again why we're moving from what was originally planned? I guess I didn't quite understand or get that.
So I think I mentioned 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 reasons. One is availability. The system that is here is not available here. We thought it was. So we either have to import or redesign. And the system itself, due to the water table, became really squatty. Usually you'll see these, I don't know if you've ever driven past when somebody's installing these, they're usually 2.5 or 3 feet diameter domes. These ones are only 18 inches. And so they're not super efficient. So it's not a great design in total. And then as we were going through these stormwater, long-term stormwater maintenance plan with the engineers, there's pros and cons to both above ground and below ground. But there's in the Coltex system, there's one bank that mostly fills up with the sediments, and having, those smaller diameters, that would happen quicker. And that's on us to maintain. But Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, you always get the calls if there's a problem. But
I think your system was designed to where it was worked, the product would work. Is most of it just a cost, I would guess, because of
cost is, making this feasible is definitely an issue. Not the only issue, but just, when we went back and looked at it, we never should have designed it with underground. It was with the water table as it is. Didn't make a lot of sense. So.
I can see what you're proposing, and it's reasonable, Mr. Douglas says that it fits. But for me, I feel a little bit like that it's with the mayor, that it's a bit of a bait and switch. That we got the original plan approved, and I'm concerned that you felt that was a viable plan, but that you didn't have all of these details measured out to make sure that was going to work. So we got the plan approved, and now we're having to go with a less desirable option.
Can I ask a question? Just, I guess to help me understand, is this an administrative item or a legislative approval?
It's change to the
Coming
site
coming
plan.
before the council, so it's legislative.
Site plan is legislative.
Yeah, in our code.
And does that conform with LUDMA?
Mm-hmm. Subdivisions are regulated heavily, but site plans are at the discretion of the municipality.
Really? Okay.
Are there other options for underground storage that we haven't explored? Or
I mean, there's other brands, there's other systems, which would also require redesign. But yeah, I mean, like it says in the packet, you know, these meet the requirements of the city code. You know, there's changes do happen in construction, but yeah, I don't feel like it's an unreasonable request. I don't think it's going to make it a less desirable project.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'd need a motion to approve the site plan amendment, if we're going to do that. Is there anything, Councilor Arnold?
I would move to approve the site plan amendment for the River Park Retail, and I'm going solely based on Sean's recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion?
Mayor, can I ask, does that include any of the provisions for the extra landscaping, or is that not a consideration?
Thank you.
Yeah, please add, how many plants was it? To keep the same number of plants,
45.
45.
in there.
Okay, motion. Second's okay with that? Okay, motion and second agree on that. So we have a motion to approve keeping the 45 plants that were removed. Okay. Any other discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, would you please poll the council?
Councilor Arnold?
Yes.
Councilor Richter?
Yes.
Councilor Anderson?
Yes.
Councilor Stevens?
No.
Okay, that passes with 3 in favor and 1 opposed. Thank you. Okay. Moving forward, we'll go to item number 2, consideration of resolution 2026-14, amending the personnel policy, chapters 1 through 8. Ms. Como.
So we have had our personnel policies reviewed by an employment attorney as a requirement from our liability insurer, Utah Local Governments Trust, in order to keep our preferred pricing and discounts. So the employment attorney has suggested or recommended some changes. The first 8 chapters of the personnel policy is what is included in the packet. None of these changes affect budget at all. They're mostly just broadening the policies to cover more circumstances and events. Do you guys have any questions about any of the changes within the first 8 chapters? I'll be back for the rest.
Are you good with it?
I am. I'm fine. And Steve has also reviewed these first 8 chapters, and he was okay with it.
You know, this is a good example of when lawyers get involved.
And they were all in red, right? All the changes.
Or blue. It printed in blue on mine, but yes, they were.
It's red here.
There was one that I noticed in that, and I've got to scroll down. But it seemed like there was a conflict of, it was 5-2,
Yes.
where it said 1, 3 consecutive.
So they're changing that from 1 day to 3 days. That's
But the
pretty
change in the
standard.
The change in the packet still had 1-3.
Oh,
Well, our
Oh, no.
the one is
Crossed
lined
out,
out.
wasn't it?
No, but there was a,
Oh.
maybe it was my copy, and I'm looking at an old one.
You know what page you're on in the packet?
Is it 89?
89?
It was 5-2.
Okay.
Was the
Is it in
Yeah,
red?
5-2 in on page 89.
Yeah, 5.2 is abandonment of position. And I do have in mine, 1 is crossed out and then 3 has been added and underlined.
Okay, 3. But before that, it says for 1, O-N-E, and then parentheses 1.
It's just crossing out the number and it's spelled out in the word one. Just before the number.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So the 1 in front of the number 1 in parentheses, that should be crossed out as well. Yeah, that must have just been missed. I can make sure that happens though when I update the manual.
And was that required? That change was required?
I'm sorry?
The change from 1 to 3 was required?
It wasn't required. It's kind of a standard business practice. I would guess if you looked at all of your personnel policies where you work, it would be 3 days. That's standard across business that I've ever seen anyway.
So this makes, when we start this at 5.2, it says 3 unauthorized absences. Do we mean to say 1 unauthorized 3 consecutive days or 3 separate instances?
No, it would be 3, so 3 days in a row. So if you have 3 consecutive,
So I get that in the second part of it there, but in the very first, it says 3 unauthorized absences may constitute cause for separation. So you're talking 3 days, one instance?
yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So they can not show up for 2 days and it's all good?
Well, no, but it wouldn't be considered job abandonment.
And I'm kind of with Councilor Arnold, like, if we leave it at 1, it says it may constitute. You know what I mean? And you're the one that uses it. Is there any time when you would want it to be 2, that it causes it? And, like, because you have a may in there. 1 with may works in my mind, but.
I'm fine sticking with where it is already. When I reviewed this with the attorneys, they specifically asked about this policy because 3 is standard just across, all personnel policies and all industries typically. I'm fine with leaving it 1. It's fine with me.
Councilor Richter?
Yeah, I understand the desire to get rid of 1, because there could be an accident, there could be something that makes it prohibited to come in 1 day, but certainly can be resolved thereafter. So, I mean, I understand what's going on here, and I'm comfortable there as well.
And if you're comfortable, and you don't think there'll ever be a time when there's 2 and you want to pull the plug and be like,
Yeah, you can be more consistent and fair with 3.
okay.
I think if you get somebody playing the system, obviously there's going to be reviews that will, come into play in the overall picture if they're going 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. So
Right, and I mean, if that was the case, there
still may
other,
be cause.
right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm satisfied. Okay, any other
You
questions?
do that?
What?
You not show up
do
for
that?
3 days?
Andy?
I don't know what industry allows that.
Yeah, no, mine's not. I don't think mine's 3 days.
Like, if we have the police or fire, they just don't show up for 2 days and they don't call her in or anything, we're cool with that. And, I mean, what percentage of our employees with the city are public safety or public work? I mean, Sean, are you okay with that? Your guy just doesn't show up for 2 days?
I can't say that I've ever seen that happen.
But why are we allowing it? And
I don't
Why are-
think
why
we
are people
allow it.
allowed?
I've never seen it happen.
I don't think that we're saying it's allowed to have 2 days.
if it's in the policy,
So I think.
Yeah, we're not.
We're not allowing it 2 days.
if it's in the policy, it's allowed.
Well,
This
we're just saying
is-
it's not job abandonment. I apologize.
Right,
I'm
this
not
is
stepping-
job abandonment, and honestly, what this really comes down to is unemployment. If somebody was to be it's considered job abandonment if they miss the 3 days in a row, okay? So if they now go and file for unemployment, they're not going to get unemployment because they abandoned their job. So that's what this policy really comes down to, is unemployment and whether somebody's going to be granted unemployment or not. And if we have this policy in place, they're not.
And that's just one of the cards that can be played.
That's right.
So that there are numerous other options that can be laid out there for cause for termination, if that were to be the case.
Right. And we have other policies about people, like if you're going to miss a day of work, it said, we have another policy that says you must notify your supervisor. So we could take care of the other circumstances. If somebody didn't show up for 2 days in a row, it just wouldn't be job abandonment. They'd still most likely get a documentation for that.
You would have some other type of corrective action that you would be
Correct.
taking at that point.
Yes.
That could lead to ultimately termination if needed, but
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi, sorry, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Thanks for bringing that up. I had that in my questions too, so I'm glad you saw that. Counselor Arnold?
Move to approve Resolution 2026-14, amending personnel policy, chapters 1 through 8, with the one typo correction in 5.2, striking the word one.
Okay, very good. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, Ms. Margoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Hanson.
Yes, I was listening in the car.
Okay. Counselor Stevens.
I heard you blame the attorneys.
Yes,
Counselor Arnold.
always attorney involved.
Arnold.
Yes.
Counselor Anderson.
Yes.
Counselor Richter.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Thanks for all you do, Ms. Como.
Thanks.
Maybe you have a nice night.
It's the only reason it passed, 'cause
Yeah.
you're so nice.
Yeah. If you're in favor, we're good. So. Okay, number 3, consideration of ordinance 1006, amending the Riverdale City Code, Title 6, Chapter 1, Section 3, driving and traffic regulations. Chief Warren.
Mayor and Council. So this is just pretty straightforward. This is a code that's been in place for my whole career. It primarily is used as a city ordinance that's used primarily as a kind of a catch-all if we have a traffic accident where maybe the elements are a little tougher to meet. It could be utilized on public roadways, but the real purpose, the best purpose of it is if we have a fender bender or something that happens in Walmart's parking lot, it gives us the ability to issue a citation, which I feel helps the person that's a victim of the crash to get that taken care of. It's been in place for a long time, but it came to my attention that the penalty was actually a Class B misdemeanor. Historically, penalties for traffic regulations and violations, amongst other things, were of a higher level. And the traffic code has been reduced 1 to 2 degrees in many areas. And this is an oversight where we didn't catch that we did not adjust that penalty. And so in order to be fair and just to the patrons that's come through our city, if they happen to have a bad day and this code happens to be utilized upon them, I would propose that it would be reduced down to an infraction to match other similar state code related offenses that would warrant it. So is there any questions?
So basically, this is for private property.
It can be, that's the one distinguishing difference between state codes that we have at our disposal for like fender benders. That's the one thing, but we do use it on the roadways as well. Just if you get a weird accident, it's written broadly enough where we can use it on to cover that, and it just makes it easier for us to fit the elements. But the primary difference between this code and other codes is it can be used on private property, where like if you have like a improper backing, there's no such thing as improper backing on private property. There's only a couple traffic related offenses that you can enforce on private property. That's DUI, reckless driving, careless driving. So this just gives us the ability to maybe take some action if they back into a car or a pedestrian on private property, but it also serves a purpose on roadways as well. And that's why it's written that anywhere within the city corporation of Riverdale City, it can be used. So it's not used a lot historically. We've recently started using it more so, and that's how it was brought to my attention.
So basically, you can give someone a ticket without giving them a misdemeanor. You give them an infraction. So
To match-
it frees your hands up a little bit to not feel like you're going to devastate somebody's life.
Yes, and it's more in line with other offenses that are out there.
Yeah, when you just need a ticket to show, who was wrong for an insurance or.
Yes, so like the equivalent of a Class B misdemeanor, which is what it was, would be reckless driving. That would be kind of something far more egregious than what this should be used for.
That's a good catch. Counselor Arnold.
Move to approve ordinance 1006, amending Riverdale City Code, Title 6, Chapter 1, Section 3, driving and traffic regulations as stated within the packet.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Anderson?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Richter?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
All right, moving on to item number 4, consideration of ordinance 1007, amending the Riverdale City Code, Title 2, Chapter 6, Design Review Committee, and Title 9, Chapter 6, Section 1, Architectural Configuration. Mr. Cooper.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. You may recall, Council, on the 7th of April, you approved the Plan Development Ordinance. In that ordinance, it reconstituted the nature of what is currently called the Design Review Committee into what is being proposed as the Development Review Committee. And so those red lines are in your packet. I've essentially struck the entirety of 2.6 and replaced it with a new section. I've retained some of that code, but it was easier just to strike the whole thing and start over. The major changes are the addition of a member of the City Council on that Development Review Committee, and also the nature of when we utilize that committee. So right now, the Design Review Committee has less members, and we generally are just using that to review architectural proposals. So colors of buildings, materials, signage, landscaping, things like that. In this application under the new PD ordinance, as well as a whole new process in our development review, we would implement the Development Review Committee at the beginning of any land use application. So we would convene that meeting, and having a member of the Planning Commission and a member of the City Council, along with the mayor, as well as review staff, technical staff, we feel like it's going to be able to not only give our applicants a much better picture into what the city wants to see done in terms of land use, but it's also going to help us understand collectively as a group some of those challenges that developers are going through in terms of facing submitting their proposal in the first place. So it's a multi-departmental intergovernmental review body is what it's essentially being proposed as. Another unique feature of this is that the member of the Planning Commission and the member of the City Council is being asked to then circle back to their respective bodies to report on what is being done in those meetings. And that gives, in my mind, as it's proposed, a full 360-degree feedback loop in terms of what's being proposed in these early on meetings. And so that can happen as a committee report with that individual member during council meeting. That can happen with our updates in Planning Commission as well. So it also affects 961 in the original code 2.6 under Design Review Committee. It references 961 in terms of some of the architectural configurations. And so I've just amended those to remove some of that and just refer to the actual development review. We don't have architectural standards in the city in terms of a codified regulation. I hope that we can in the future, and you'll see that in some of our proposed changes coming up later in this year. But right now, I've essentially just struck most of 961 and just tied it back into the fact that the Development Review Committee would meet and talk about architectural standards. So that's a general overview. I'd be happy to answer specific questions if you have any.
Mr. Cooper, I think one thing that helped me understand this process a little better is if you could explain to him how a project like the Ritter project would maybe get to the council a little more quickly. If you could just explain that process.
So under the new plan, both with the PD ordinance and with this new development review committee, the applicant would have said, hey, we have this idea for this townhome project, and we're going to be seeking a general plan amendment and a rezone. So we could have convened the development review committee, and at that time we would have had planning commission and city council representation as well as staff. So not only could we have talked about just the technical nature of such a submittal, but we could have also talked about the appetite of such a proposal from the view of the city, right? So it's this idea that it's dual representation. Not only are those two members, specifically planning commission and city council members, expected to report back to their respective groups, they're also meant to bring the perspective of their groups to that committee so that we can help our applicants understand what might be feasible in terms of an application like that. Typically, the way life works is that the council, as the legislative body, sets the policy that they want implemented through the city, and administration implements that. You heard from Mr. Brown a minute ago, why are site plans legislatively being decided on? That's because our policy isn't strong enough yet to stand on its own so that an administrative review can be done outside of the policy itself. And so our codes allow for legislative review of a site plan administrative application. So this is meant to kind of bridge that to where we have some legislative representation in what's been otherwise administrative reviews and decisions, so that we're understanding what all the groups want.
And I know sometimes the first time we hear about something is when it comes to the planning commission. And hopefully this will stop that or remedy that, so that our representation on that committee can bring that back to us early and explain to us, and get your feedback and stuff. So, Councilor Stevens.
Yeah. Is there going to be a recording, minutes? Now, I know this is not a state, one where it has to be broadcast, but if we want to reference something from the meeting without going through, maybe we haven't heard back yet, or we knew something was coming, we want to get, is there going to be anything?
Yeah, it'll be handled just like the DRC is handled now, with recorded minutes.
Audio.
Mm-hmm. And written minutes.
Councilor Richter.
And again, this is just advisory in nature, right? There's no approvals, nothing like that. This is just an advisory committee that goes back and no changes there. Right?
That's correct. And so my hope is that when something comes out of that committee initially to the planning commission, which is generally where it's going to go, then that recommendation will have carry some weight, because it does have the input of all the bodies of the city, both on the administrative and the legislative. So that's the hope, is that it can be a recommending body.
Mr. Douglas. There's another mic. Do you guys want to pull?
So I like this because I think we get some good feedback from the planning commission at these meetings. And I think your representation would be key on other elements that the planning commission typically don't cover. And also to give us your feedback, as if you represent your group and what you feel they represent, I think it's very beneficial for an applicant to hear that at an early stage.
Councilor Anderson.
How do we navigate reporting back information when sometimes, case in point, Trader Joe's, I participated on that with the design review committee, but we were kind of told to button our lips on that until it was official. How do we navigate reporting that back to those respective bodies?
From my perspective, once it's formally submitted to a reviewing body, whether that's DRC, administration for a plan review, then it's public. There might be a few occasions, such as Trader Joe's or something like that, that would ask us to not disclose that. That would be something that we could say yes or no to, because everything we receive formally is public information.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve ordinance 1007, amending Riverdale City Code Title 2, Chapter 6, Design Review Committee, and Title 9, Chapter 6, Section 1, Architectural Configuration is stated within the packet.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Hanson,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Richter,
Yes.
Counselor Arnold,
Yes.
Counselor Stevens.
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. Very good. Thank you. We will move on to item number 5, consideration of Administrative Order 2026-01, addressing culinary water restrictions due to drought. Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Mayor. So we received our allotment from Weber Basin for this year. They've cut our outside watering or water delivery by 20% for the summer. And just a little feedback or a little bit of backstory. So I looked at the reservoir levels again today. Willard's at 54%, East Canyon 81, Echo 66, Rockport 66, Smith and Morehouse 82, and Lost Creek 67. The only reservoir that looks like it'll probably fill this year in our drainage basin is Causey at 98%. And that seems like a high number, but when you look at the acre feet of water in Causey, we literally could only provide for the city for 2 years if we drained that reservoir from full to empty. That would provide enough water for about 2.5 years for our city, and that's it. So it's a very small reservoir, and so it doesn't have very big impact. It does some impact. They do generate some electricity out of it and a few other things, but as far as storage, it's fairly small. Because if you look at Willard in comparison, so Causey's 6,900 acre feet, Willard Bay at full capacity is 116,730 acre feet. So Causey's pretty insignificant in the whole overall picture. We also looked at a little different this time than doing the drought rate across all levels. Last time we implemented across the board because we needed to cut inside and outside watering. This time they've only asked us to cut outside watering by 20%. Our inside delivery will still be the same. There will be no reduction on it. So looking at that, what we proposed to do was leave the base rate alone, no increase on the base rate. And then the first tier of water, which should cover most every resident's inside watering with no increase on it. The increase will only be on the outside watering. Hopefully with that and education, it's enough to talk people into being conservative and giving us that 20%. I mean, we'll have to keep watching. If we get to the end of June and we haven't conserved any water and we're running low, like we'll probably have to make another change. Last time our residents was fairly responsive, like I was pretty impressed. And I feel like our residents are already good because they're paying for their water, everything that goes through the tap. They're pretty conservative, so it is hard to cut in some instances because a lot of them are already conservative. Some of them aren't. Some of them don't care, like it's water wherever. And it's like it's harsh. And then trying to police it and all the other thing that's going to come with this. I would ask that as we look at this, that on number 2, instead of reduce all water, we just reduce outdoor watering by 20%. And then on number 9, I would like to add in except for health and safety reasons, because there is reasons why people wash stuff to keep things cleanly or that helps with sanitation. And so I'd like to add that into there, and then I'd take any questions that you have for us.
Counselor Stevens.
Where we use culinary for both inside and outside, how do you ascertain or monitor what's being used? Because we only have 1 meter, and that's on the household.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's nothing that differentiates unless you take a winter rate compared with.
So pretty much what we would do, and that's what we do, is we go in and look at our usage December, January, and February. Pretty much know that none of that water's they're probably not out washing the car outside. They're probably not washing their driveway, and they dang sure better not be irrigating or running a air conditioner that time of year. So if we look at them levels, we pretty much know what their base is, like where they're at, like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 gallons for indoor usage. When we start getting in March, April, May, we start seeing that increase. We know that most of that's going to be outside watering. It's particularly hard for us because if you take a system that has both, it's pretty easy to say, okay, we're cutting your water by 20%. If you use more than your 20%, we just shut your outdoor water meter off, right? That's pretty hard for us to do when there's a family living in the home there. So it's going to be education, working with people and asking people to do their best. And we're not going to look at it. We can't look at every single individual. We're going to look at how much water we're producing, how much water we're putting back, and if we've cut that by the 20%. It's a nightmare for us, actually.
I had one request in our packets. It tells kind of what the usage has been. Is there a way to alert us each month? That second packet, what, like how much we've used or how much the average?
So we lag a little bit because I have to wait for a meter reading from Weber Basin. Like my well, I can pull as the month goes on, what we're producing there.
Yeah.
We lag a little bit with Weber Basin, so it'll be a little bit of a lag, but we can provide that.
Even an email, just so we have an idea.
If we're making
the
a dent.
message getting through? Like,
For sure.
where are we at? Are people
Not a
doing,
problem.
Are they doing anything? Because
Yeah.
I agree, it's an education thing. I think we all know it didn't
There's
stop.
no way to do it on the bill, where our bill comes through and it shows how much water we use.
Indoor compared to outdoor.
No, you'd have a percentage, like you said, December,
You
January,
have your
February.
bill, and so you can look at your
There's
comparisons.
some graphs on there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
is
but
if we have the graphs,
Yeah.
is there a way to red flag somebody on their bill? Not us red flag them, but at least let them know that whoa.
It's really hard for us to do that because we'd have to go back through and try and look at each individual account, produce a individual usage for the 3 months. Like I don't think we'd get that done before the end of the summer to be able to produce everybody individually.
Need some computer science major to
Yeah, some
write
AI
something
to
up.
just do all the bills.
And we could look into that and see if the software has something in there that would let us do a comparison, say your usage is, done by a percentage. We can look at that. Like I haven't specifically tried to do that, but it would have to be something that it does it itself. Because if we have to do that manually, like it would be almost impossible for us.
It just seems like the information's there. We just, how to tap it.
Yeah, if it's in the program, like.
Good one.
Tap.
So do I-
Counselor Anderson first.
No, you're good. So do I understand it correct that there's going to be 2 tiers and there'll be a base?
So we have 5 tiers of water. So you have your base fee that you pay, and that has no water with it. Then you have the first tier, second tier. So as you use more water, the rate that we charge goes up, and that's a conservation measure.
Granted, you can't, AI doesn't provide the measurement to be able to differentiate between a family of 2 and a family of 5. So there's going to be some disadvantages for larger families because they're using more. Okay.
Same. You could put that back to the same way with somebody with a larger yard as well, though. You have somebody that has
Good point.
a 6,000 square foot lot, and you have somebody that has a 40,000 square foot lot. Like there's just so many differences out there. It's not apples to apples on every one of them. It's a lot of apples to oranges, and we tried to take the least aggressive a road that we could and try and make it fair so that if you're conserving and you're not watering. The other thing, we have people that pay for outdoor irrigation water separately, and this shouldn't affect them at all because they're going to get dinged by their irrigation company. And so it kind of leaves them not affected, which they shouldn't be because their irrigation's separate.
Counselor Richter.
And I perhaps should know this. What's the tier difference when I hit that 10,000?
I did not. I should have brought that. I didn't bring dollar
and that's
amount with
okay.
me.
So, but there's already a tier and a differentiation
every
here.
there's 5 tiers,
Right.
so every so many thousand gallons that changes.
And this 10,000, is that probably the upper tier already, or is it?
That's the lowest. The one we're not going to charge on is the very lowest tier, so it's the first 7,000 gallons type situation. Because that's what you're using in your house.
Right. And the
Can you get those, Ms. Maragoni? Can you?
And that's regulated by the state, right? We didn't set the tiers, the state.
So
came
the
in.
state wants us to tier because of conservation, because if you don't have any incentive to not use the water, so they want it to be progressively more expensive so that we have a reason to conserve.
Which I fully understand. I guess I'm just questioning the 25% increase here.
So that's based off what we have in the consolidated fee schedule and the level of drought. So they give us a drought level and they base theirs off of what their predicted percentages are. And then our consolidated fee schedule takes what their level of drought is and assigns a fee to it.
One other question, if I may. Collection of rainwater. There seems to be a statute that says that a homeowner can't collect that it's deemed state property, or
You can collect a minimal amount.
there is a minimal amount.
Yes.
250-gallon barrels.
Okay.
And you can get a permit for more, but you can start with 250-gallon with nothing. I made one. So far, so good.
And so if you a little more background on our water usage. So a lot of times in the winter we can get by with 100 acre feet of water. That's what we produce. That's what we sell. If you get into July, August, September, depends on the year because the heat changes at different times. We're typically over 400 plus acre feet of water. So we're using almost 300 acre feet of water outside a month.
Thank you, Ms. Maragone. So hopefully everybody can see on the screen, we got those tiers pulled up. So each, it already gets more expensive in those higher tiers, but there will be a 25% increase on those as well, the over 10,000, which we really worked hard to hit this right in the right spot. Our ordinance says if Weber Basin designates it moderate, then we do 25%. It's already in ordinance, so.
And is this universal, so for commercial property, for
Across the
city
board.
property, all of those, so it's uniform across? Okay.
Another thing that is a little tough is some of us that tried to conserve last year have already put ourselves, 20% more is going to be tough this year.
That's why I say, the guys it's hardest on the people that have been doing the best job for us. That's what makes it so tough. But overall, we need
Yeah,
the
we gotta get
20%.
20%.
So it's not every, like one guy might hit 15 and one guy hits 25, but in the end, as long as we're in that 20% range, then we should be fine and we should have enough supply for the summer. And the rain could really help us. Like, I know last year it was a dry summer, Like I water on culinary at my house and I'm very particular. Like I try and keep my yard looking nice and I used 30,000 gallons more over the year last year than I did the previous year. And I try and be as conservative as I can and play it a lot just because it's hard to ask somebody to do it if you're not doing it. But I know I used 30,000 more last year than I did the year before and my lawn wasn't any greener. Like it was just drier. We just didn't get the moisture. And hopefully we get some rain. Like that could really help us.
Counselor Hanson.
And I would say the 10,000, that is generous. I mean, having worked in utility billing for a water agency, generally in the winter, even a big family isn't using 10,000. And if they are in the winter, that's usually a red flag that they've got like a leaky toilet or something like that that's happening. So really this should cover, almost everyone in the city. It would have to be pretty abnormal water use for indoor if it's above 10,000. So I think that's a great number to set it at and a good place to start. Hopefully that gets us where we need to be.
I agree. I think the terrace is about 4,000 on their the first tier. Yeah.
So I'm at Bonavista and they did 50% across the board.
Really? Yeah. So we've tried really hard to be sensitive to our residents. We just got to get that 20% somehow. Counselor Arnold.
I would move to approve Administrative Order 2026-1 addressing the culinary water restrictions due to the drought, with the changes that Sean has made in his presentation.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Thank you. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragone, please poll the council.
Counselor Anderson?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Richter?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. I know this is one of the hardest things that you guys have to do when we do something like this. So I appreciate the support and we'll do everything we can to make it as mild as we can.
Are we going to do like a monthly update as we move forward through this season?
Like, we
Something
could
like that.
provide the residents the same thing that we're providing for you, like what our usage is compared to previous.
Yeah.
I think all the information we can get out, the better.
We could put a spot on the website and put something on there that they,
And I think sharing it on the citizens and having you hit your letter and
Maybe a meter that's just running.
so we already have
We've used.
we have a article already pretty much written up based on what is, if this was approved for the newsletter that'll go out. I think he sends it to the printer on Friday, but we'll hit social media right off the bat first thing. So
Yeah, I was just gonna say that this is kind of, you have your Riverdale citizen agitators who, say, yes, I conserve water, now I pay more. That was a common theme from last go-round. And so if we're educating, and I think you're being proactive, which I'm glad to hear about, the whys and what we're doing, because it impacts everybody. And so it's again, most people are good with it except for a vocal minority.
we understand that, and we'll do the best we can to get it out there the best we can and make it
do we have like a commercial, the reverse 911 thing that we do for everybody in Riverdale that, because I think the biggest heat that we get, it really isn't heat, it's just noise, but we get a lot of it, is when you go by Sam's Club and they have a sprinkler that's busted and it's just shooting up after we've just done this, and it's like,
So I think what we've talked about is Steve's gonna help us with that a little bit too. And so hopefully commercial's our hardest one, because naturally, does the price matter to them? Probably not. Do they have somebody on site manage the system? Probably not. Like, they might come once every 5 weeks and set the clock, or they might landscape mow once a week. The people at the stores that's running the stores, they don't have a clue where the clock's at or how to set it or how to adjust it. So they're our biggest ones. So again, we're going to have to visit with some of them and do education. And we know that's going to happen, and we'll get hit as well as a city, because even if we cut back on our watering, so like Golden Spike Park, to water that park, it takes us 3 nights. So we might only water that park twice a week, but we're watering pretty much 6 to 7 days a week to water it twice. And it's hard for people to comprehend that it's not the same stations. We're going across the park. And some of that's, we're trying to stay within our restricted hours and not go outside of them as well. But yeah, there's a lot. Our phones will be ringing off the hook when this hits. Like, we know that. Like, it's hard to even deal with as much as it'll hit, but we'll do the best we can to educate them.
And I think Sean still hasn't watered, right? Like the parks, you still.
We have not. We've turned the system on, but we have not watered a park yet. And if we're getting by, the residents should be able to get by, because the traffic we have compared to what you have in your home, like, it's killing us at Riverdale. Like, we're not going to be able to go much longer at Riverdale. So
When you say Riverdale, at the park, Riverdale City.
Riverdale Park, the city office, like, we can get by fairly well here. It'll recover once we start watering, but the foot traffic at Riverdale Park, I'm sure you guys drive by there and see what happens to that park. Like, it's already overwhelmed even this time of year. So that one's going to be, like, we'll watch that one closely and try not to, hopefully we get a little bit of rain tomorrow and the next day, like they're saying. They set up to 1/4 of an inch, and that'd buy us some more time, so.
And are there going to be any impacts to the splash pad?
So we are going to cut that one day. It'll be Thursday, and that'll be close to the 20%. I went through last year, and there was no way that I could pick like a certain day and get 20%. Like, every week a different day would be higher. The weekends typically are higher. Thursday was a fairly high use usually, and we also looked at reservations. And Thursday only had 1 reservation throughout the whole summer that would be affected by it. And so we felt like that was another consideration, as people, when they reserve, they kind of expect the splash pad. And so I went through all the reservations, and there was only 1 Thursday. So we'll have to reach out to them and tell them that on Thursday that won't be open.
Okay. Well, we appreciate all you do, Sean. Thank you. This is a tough thing.
just one more thing. Are we enforcing the organized sports usage. We go down to Golden Spike Park with the youth fairly regularly. I mean, it's, in the summer, and it's usually the same soccer teams that are down there. And we had passed that ordinance on
So
enforcing.
if you would just call us so that we can go over and see who it is.
Okay.
Like if there's certain rules in there that if they're doing certain things, like we can tell them not to, and especially if they're trying to do exclusive use. I think Rich has got that wrote fairly well now to where we can deal with that.
Okay.
And
For watching it, that's
we're,
great.
we're not, we're not there every minute, you know what I mean? Like we go over there and mow one day, we go over and do the restrooms in the morning, and a lot of times we're early in the day when we're over there. So if you see something over there that's consecutive, just let me know, and we can go check on it for sure.
All right, moving on to number 6, consideration of ordinance 1008, adopting by reference the most current edition of the International Property Management Code and establishing standards for property maintenance. Mr. Cooper.
Great, thank you, Mayor. 9.1 is our section of the code where we adopt all of the international codes that are adopted by the state. So the state adopts all of them. So the building code, the plumbing code, the mechanical code, the fire code, those are all adopted by the state. And then we adopt those and their amendments by reference in 9.1.0. What the state hasn't adopted is the International Property Maintenance Code. And so that's left up to us to determine if that's something that could apply to Riverdale. And so I've proposed that we amend 910 to include the adoption of the International Property Maintenance Code to supplement what we already have in our current code in terms of nuisance abatement. So when Steve May goes out to enforce code, he has, at his discretion, only those things that are outlined in Section 4, Chapter 4 of Title 3, I think. And if it's not in there, then he has a difficult time to enforce those issues. So what the property maintenance code does is it augments that, it supplements that. So it allows him to do a broader amount of enforcement on different things. So structures is one of them, inside and outside. So it supplements what Jeff Woody can do as the building official inside of a building in terms of structural maintenance and enforcement. So there's a lot of benefits to it. I've outlined most of those benefits in your packet in terms of the difference of what the property maintenance code would do in addition to our nuisance code. So I think it's a great thing. There's a lot of cities that have it. The state doesn't do it. I'm not sure why. They just leave it up to us. The state knows that cities have their own nuisance abatement codes. And so, again, there are many that have their own, but then adopt this in addition. So I think it's a great thing. It doesn't affect our citizens at all in terms of what they can and can't do. It just allows Steve to have a broader purview of what he can inspect and enforce.
Any questions on that?
Any examples of perhaps what the difference would be? So what the state adopts and what this would include that we don't already include?
So
I'm
this-
flying a little bit blind on this because I'm not sure.
Chief Warren. Chief Warren raised his hand.
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
Cooper.
A little bit. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that Brandon's researched, but this will be a good one. For instance, that parking lot at Trader Joe's, those potholes that are in all these parking lots. We don't have the tools to go and force them to fix those potholes, and that creates a significant danger, both property and then safety-wise, for the people that are shopping here in our city. And so this will give us the tools that we can contact them and force it upon the businesses to maintain their property so it's safe for those customers and patrons that are coming through there, that they don't wreck the front end of their car when they're going to shop. We have a bunch of those throughout the city. That's one of the main things, but it primarily targets our commercial district, not our residents. And it doesn't target them. It just ensures that the quality of the commercial area that we have stays up to the high standard that we need it to be. And it makes it fair for those businesses that are doing so, that their neighbors are doing so. So the neighbor doesn't run down their property and adversely affect their business type situation. So does that kind of cover what you're thinking?
Yeah, and in the packet, I've just got a number of things listed. So in addition to what Chief Warren just mentioned, weeds and overgrown vegetation is kind of an obvious one. But the sidewalks, driveways, and parking areas of both commercial and residential, drainage to prevent standing water, accessory structures. So that's purely just it's either a zoning issue or it's a building code issue. And if it doesn't fall into either one of those, then we have no regulation to enforce the condition of an accessory structure. This now gives it to us. On the interior of a building, he can now look at things that are structurally structural components. He can look at things like infestation, whereas we would just kind of punt that to the health department. He now would have the opportunity to look at some of those enforcement things. Anything from the mechanical systems to the plumbing systems, safe egress, fire hazards, the list goes on. It's in your packet. So there's a lot of things in the commercial district that this would give him the tools to go and look at. And he's great at working with our citizens and our businesses on the initial encounter, education, and then follow-up. So I think he's doing a great job with the process of enforcement. This just gives him more tools.
And just to add to that, collectively, Steve's kind of the mouthpiece. We would utilize the fire department, a little bit of the police department, public works, Jeff Woody, because those guys are kind of the experts on maybe some of the building codes and different things like that. It just gives us the ability to kind of, for him to collect that information and present it and talk to them and have some teeth to getting them to comply. He won't be able to be the expert in all these things. It'll take it, and really with code enforcement, it's a team effort. Like, he's working with everybody in the city. Not even though he's housed with the police department, he works very closely with everybody in this room to try to make sure we get the best product out there for the residents, commercial, and everybody. So, anyways.
I think that's one thing that I was going to say that Steve does. Like, if it's something that's in our purvey, he always comes over, sits down, we go through it. He has a good feeling for where he's headed and what the right answer is before he just goes out and addresses something. And honestly, he's been great to work with. Like, I think he's made a difference. I drive the city daily, and I think he's making a difference. And I think little tools like this, like, you can't believe how many complaints we've had on 2 or 3 potholes and how many cars they've damaged in parking lots, and they kind of thumb their nose at us. Like, it's just like, it's just a parking lot, but it's damaging people's cars, and they're calling us saying, well, you got to fix your road. And it's not a road, it's a parking access, and it's privately owned. So I think it'd help on them a bunch.
So back to your question, I think the technical part of this is that if you look in the packet where I've redlined it under 9.1.0, all it's doing in the list of all of the other international codes that we adopt by reference. And what that means is that we're referencing the state's adoption, and we're doing it to where any amendments that happen at the state level, they're automatically applied to our codes. So we're not having to do this every year. So you see the red line, I've just added the International Property Maintenance Code in addition to all the other codes that we adopt by reference. So it just completes that suite of tools that we have to regulate.
Which makes it nice based upon our previous agenda item where it automatically kind of updates to the latest standard. That makes it so much nicer to keep our code up to date to where it's effective. We can just reference that code, and it's updated yearly. So, anyways.
Counselor Anderson, do you have a question?
Just a comment. When I first read this, it kind of led me to wonder how you're telling me that it won't affect the citizens as much as it will commercial development properties. Because when I first read this, I thought this kind of reflects back on an HOA, and we all have the HOA horror stories as somebody's going to try and use this to make me put door knobs and drawer pulls on my cabinets. I had that happen when we built our home. They weren't going to clear us for approval for the house because we didn't have drawer pulls. on the cabinets that we had. They were designed specifically so that they didn't have them. So it's just wondering how far this can carry, and I don't want it being onerous on the citizens, you know, compelling them to do things that maybe they wouldn't normally do with their properties. Obviously, maintaining upkeep is important so that it affects everyone in general, but that was my first concern with this as I read through that. So again, assure me that this is not going to be utilized in that type of manner.
Well, it doesn't regulate new construction. That's purely under the building code.
Okay.
It doesn't regulate or override any zoning requirements or existing building code requirements. It can apply to residents just as much as it can apply to commercial properties. I think it's the application of it. So as we were talking about Steve and just the process of enforcement, he's taking more of an education approach to it. It's great to have the tools, but if we use them as a hammer, then that's where it becomes problematic for some people. So Steve's approach from Casey's direction is to educate. And so if we have a residential property that is in need of enforcement or a commercial property, then typically that looks like a phone call, an email, or a person-to-person conversation to help them understand what the requirements are, and then as an expectation for compliance. And then if there isn't compliance, then it can go a couple of different directions. So it's a tool that we, I think, need. How we use it is maybe more to your question, and that really is something that is doing well from my observation.
Because I can see a neighborhood Karen saying, you know, he needs to do this, and it needs to be tempered so that, you know, things don't get out of control.
As far as your resident goes, there isn't anything that I can think of that we would enforce that's not already in the code. Predominantly, what Steve sticks to with the residents, the biggest things are weeds, snow removal. We have had some home business issues, people operating businesses from their houses, but that's pretty much it. So the meat and potatoes of what we need to keep the neighborhoods nice and enforce those regulations are already in our code now. He's already actively doing it. I don't foresee anything from this code that's going to bleed over into his job in the residence. It's going to be more directed commercially. Now, under the letter of the law, certainly it could probably be applied, but I've instructed Steve to use discretion when enforcing these things, to be fair about what we're doing. And to be quite honest, as Brandon mentioned, we don't branch out. If it's something new that he hasn't been trained on and enforcing, then he works with me or other department heads in that neck of the woods that are more of the experts in that category to make sure that we're handling it appropriately. So I don't foresee really anything from this new portion bleeding over to the residents, because I feel like the tools that we have now are adequate.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve ordinance 1008, adopting by reference the most current edition of the International Property Maintenance Code and establishing standards for property maintenance. And as that's stated, that it will automatically update. So we're talking the most current. It's not we're adopting this one, but it will continually. So I don't know if the most current, the way it's written, the most current is the best way to say this.
Because by reference and most current together, that means that you are, whatever the state adopts, by reference, you're adopting that, and that will be the most current.
So in the motion, whatever the state adopts, we adopt.
That's right.
Right. I was just saying the way it's written, it says the most current, so we're adopting this one.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
That's true. So the state actually doesn't adopt the International Property Maintenance Code, but you can still adopt it by reference with the most current edition that is published by the International Code Committee or Code Council.
So the by reference is what gets us.
That's right.
Gets us the most current, not we're only adopting the most current today.
Okay.
That's right.
So stated within the packet then.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second.
Thank you.
Okay. We do not have a second.
Then I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on that motion? Councilor
I'm
Richter?
going to probably be in opposition to this, and only, not because I don't agree or understand the representations made, but I don't know that they always line up here, and we would be imposing something here that could be changed at some, depending if we had different code enforcement, different thoughts and everything. So while I support the overall thought, yeah, I'm just not comfortable doing something I haven't read.
Okay, thanks for giving us an explanation on that. Any other comments? Ms. Maragoni, please poll the council.
Councilor Richter?
No.
Councilor Arnold?
Yes.
Councilor Hanson?
I don't know.
That's not an answer.
I wish that was an answer. I'm going to say no.
Councilor Stevens?
Yes.
Councilor Anderson?
Okay, motion fails with 3 being opposed and 2 being in favor.
If you don't like potholes, call your city council.
Well, I'd rather us just bring that back,
I
because I
agree.
do really love that, and I do wish we could address that, and so, yeah.
What do you mean? I'm not sure I understand.
Add that to our code.
Oh,
Put it in our code.
got it.
I've just never, and if I'm okay to say it, I agree. Like, I've dealt a lot with all of these international codes in public works, but this isn't one that I've ever seen or heard of or read for myself, and so I'm just hesitant to take their word for it without knowing exactly what they're actually covering. But I do really love that. So if someone brought back a code saying that we could enforce safety in parking lots and maintenance, I would be in favor of that.
Agreed.
Good feedback. Thank you.
And I agree, we won't always have Steve May, so.
Well, sure, but we'd always have the code.
Yeah.
Every single city staff member was in favor of it.
Yeah. Okay, we will move on to item number 7, fire department discussion. Are you taking this, Mr. Brooks?
Yeah, it's more just an update, not so much an update, but just to fill you in a little bit. Plus, I do want some direction on this. We're dipping our fingers in the pool all over the place here, and our toes and everything else, but it's almost time to jump in. We've got to make a decision, and before we started, I mean, we've looked at everything. We've got some final numbers from the state. Again, met with the fire district. We've been talking with Roy. We're kind of running ours, similar to theirs. But now we gotta make decisions that are a lot more impactful. And again, we're not asking you to make a decision here. I just want some direction and some assurance that when we start putting all this work in here, that we're not just spinning our wheels and we're wasting our time, because we've got to run this kind of hand in hand with the budget. And this is where we're getting a little bit nervous, because we're putting that together. But we've got to figure out, are we doing this for 6 months, or are we doing it for a full year, and that kind of stuff. So, and I think it's probably important that we start looking at some open houses or some community involvement, because I think that's important for you guys to get that feedback before you do make a decision. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at. I just want to make sure that I'm not misreading you, and that you're okay with me going forward on this, because within these next couple months, this thing's going to start to fly. I mean, the district would like to start at the first of the year, so all these things come into play. So I just wanted to put it out there for some discussion, feedback, and if you have any questions or whatnot. But just I need some assurance that we're on the right track, that I'm not misreading you or anything like that. So that's why I put it on there, so we can at least discuss it and see where everybody is. Again, I'm not asking for a commitment. It doesn't mean we're there, but we're going to start putting a lot more time into it on some of the more serious stuff. We've even started to negotiate things. There's so many factors we got to look at. There's equipment that we got to negotiate deals with. Even personnel, we're looking at, buyouts on time and vacation and all those kind of things. There's a lot of work that's going to go into this, and we've started almost all of those things. But at this point, we've got to start taking a lot more direct act. We got to jump into pools, what we've got to do. And so I wanted to get feedback from the council and just make sure we're all on the same page.
Councilor Arnold.
I am in full support of going to the district. I think the offset in the planning commission, or not the planning commission, the property tax is there for funding. I also think that if we're lowering the size of our city government, that we look at some other cost measures that, you know, if we're, I mean, how many of the employees, we have 55 full-time employees, and how many, 20 of them would go to somebody else? So we would be, you know, down to, what, maybe 35, 40 employees, full-time employees, that, you know, would give us an opportunity to do some cost-saving measures elsewhere as well. But looking into this and looking into the district and the other cities that are doing or jumping on board with this, they've got a kind of a tough road to hoe to make this thing work, not just with Riverdale, but they have some of the other cities that are signing up for it as well, is into it. So,
Councilor Richter.
Yeah, I would also echo Councilor Arnold's comments. I've seen several presentations on this, and quite frankly, I'm hard pressed to find a reason not to do it. It makes complete sense to me, and I think I agree. It gives us some flexibility that we might not otherwise have. So,
Councilor Stevens.
I'm for it for a couple of things. Was it a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, when we were evaluating, you know, about the ambulance, whether or not we wanted to contract that out. And when I did the deep dive into that, the theme that came home to me was that what we don't have is economy of scale, because we have the one station, we have the one truck, well, we have a ladder truck, anyway, an engine, and one ambulance. You know, when we compared it with Roy and we were looking at that contract, it just, you know, even though they had 2 fire stations, that still gives them so much more latitude for economy of scale for the overnight, and which we've never had. And so to go into the district, they can provide the service with and I keep using the word economy of scale because they can shift people so much more efficiently and maintain the manning levels that we with one station just cannot do. And so it's prudent from an economic to do that. Now, the one concern is, and I say this with a little lightheartedness, is we have an employee that was recognized, Paul Flagg, would not be 44 years if this happens. I mean, our most stalwart employee would no longer be a Riverdale City employee. I mean, anyway, like I said, it's a little more lighthearted.
you can put him on a lawnmower.
Other comments? And if you don't feel comfortable, go ahead, Mr.
I know that was
Brooks.
more in jest there, but we did ask specifically about Paul. We've asked about every one of these guys individually, and Chief Hennessy's been in there with a lot of those. They are pulling everybody straight across. Anybody we send, they're picking them up. So yeah, he won't have 44 years with the fire district, but he's still going to have that with the state. So they were excited to pick him up. They're excited actually to pick up Chief Hennessy. They've got a spot for him already that I don't think he was even expected. And whether or not he takes it, I don't know. He'll have to work that kind of stuff out. But I've been really happy with their willingness to do everything. Even Kristen, we've gone over everybody. And we even tried to keep her here a little bit, but it didn't quite work out. But
Excuse me, you said Kristen?
Yeah, she's like their administrative assistant.
Yeah.
Oh.
So she runs the department out there, contrary to what Matt will tell you, but actually he's agreeing with me. So, but no, that's not even going to be an issue. We've just got to come down to benefits and things like that, and all this stuff's going to have to be in agreements. We've got to start writing contracts, all kinds of things. So it's going to get pretty busy at this point. But I don't know if you have any questions for Matt, or Matt, if you want to say anything more. I think we're headed in the right direction, but I just wanted to make sure the council's on board before we sink a lot more time into this, so.
Councilor Arnold.
But I'm not sure where the others at. I've heard 3 indicators of that we're going in that direction. I would like to hear from the other 2 as well, if they wouldn't mind giving us an opinion on it.
Everybody's looking at me. I sat in on the presentation, and I will be honest, I need to study this a little bit further. I'm not fully opposed. The only chief concern that I have is the net effect on the citizens as far as the cost. I feel it unfair that we push, a cost savings to the city solely to the citizens to foot that. So I would want to examine that closer. I'm not opposed to this because a lot of the things that they talked about were more promising. The retention of employees and their efficiencies that they're able to accomplish this. My sole concern is the net effect on the citizens, and I want to examine that further, but I'm not opposed to moving forward.
No, that's fair.
It's a hard one. I can't say that I wouldn't consider it, because we've seen the presentation. It sounds too good to be true. I've had good conversations with some of the guys that I'm hoping that they're really hearing what's being offered, and I hope that they know that it's not something that Riverdale wants to do. And that's the hardest part for me. I mean, Paul's been on the fire department almost as long as I've been alive, and so that's my memories of the fire department my whole life. It's tough, but I'm open to it. I know it's something we need to look at. They're making it sound really great. I'm more of a trust but verify, and I've been waiting to see numbers from those guys and more numbers from the staff, so that it's going to be a painful thing for us to have to make that call on, and we just need to have every assurance and having the hard numbers to see what that looks like, so that we have more of no choice, I think is, maybe that makes it easier, even though it doesn't. But that's what I'd ask for. Just so if you've got numbers, I'd like to see numbers for sure.
Yeah, we will. All right, that's what I needed to hear, so we're good, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilor Arnold has a comment.
I think one of the things that we think about is the heartstrings, for sure. I mean, to see the Riverdale on there. But the one thing that I feel really bad about the citizens of Riverdale is that Riverdale has kind of been built around them. So like, you've lived in Riverdale pretty much your whole life, and you've been here how many years, and but it's the thing is, when we build Riverdale, and we have a police department that's got 35, 33, 21. So we have our own police department. We buy our own cars. We do all that kind of stuff. And then you have basically just under 10,000 residents. And the state really pushes property tax for public service or public safety. This is more the economy of scale for the district, because if they need bigger vehicles, more equipment, things like that, it doesn't fall solely on Riverdale to do it. And the people that shop in Riverdale are going to help us with that. That's why I really checked into this, and I think the service will stay the same, all that kind of stuff. I'll miss having Riverdale. I was given a 41 hat, and it's probably one of my most prized possessions as far as my hat collection and stuff like that. But it's, we represent the citizens of how much it costs to live in Riverdale. And it drives me crazy whenever we say, oh, we've got to do, this many employees, and we got to have, this type of service when we're struggling with the service. When, I mean, it wasn't too long ago that we were operating undermanned, and we're actually asking people to risk their lives because they're undermanned. And I think, the big thing for me is the cost across for the residents, because, I think Michelle pays the same property tax to the fire district where she lives. And I think Harrisville's that way too, isn't it? Sean, I'm in your fire district.
We're in Northview, so we're a little different.
Oh, so it's a different fire district.
It's 3 cities, but it's kind of the same situation.
Same situation where, when they need equipment, you can draw it over a bigger base. And I do think we sharpen our pencil to hit the 2030 mark where, Steve gets a cut in pay for 20% or something like that, because his workload goes down or whatever. No. Things like that,
Well, and I think that's all. I think it's really valid, and those are really good points. I think one thing we lose control over, though, on behalf of our residents is the tax increases to them. That, yeah, there's a big upfront decrease from Riverdale City because we get to drop that for them because we're not providing that service anymore. But we have no say on future tax increases to them. And in the end, we just can't control it and we can't know. And so that's just a realistic situation. And that's why, not that's a reason not to do it. It's just there are some real considerations that way that we can't protect the residents when it comes to what happens in the future on that. So it's just something to think about too. But I feel like those are all valid considerations.
And I just want to say a couple of things. I think the residents are super lucky to have you guys as their city council members. Like, you're very thoughtful, you're very smart, you're not afraid to do the hard thing. I mean, this is hard. I agree. I mean, that 41 is important to all of us. I was in the fire station, I was looking at a plaque, it had the names of the volunteer guys from back in the day, and so it's hard, things change, but you guys are very thoughtful, and I just appreciate all your research, and we have a hard thing in front of us, and we've got to find a way to fix it. I'll tell you something kind of interesting. I wrote my newsletter article, and I had planned on writing something about something totally different. But then after reading the comments about the CarMax and the apartment building, I had made a comment that we were facing a shortage in 2030, and somebody came out and said, well, I can't imagine Riverdale with all their money. I'd like to see their books and stuff. And I thought, man, there's people out there that have no idea what we're facing. And so I was like, well, that's it. It's time for another 2030 article. And we're going to talk about it again in the newsletter and make sure people know. And hopefully it's laying the foundation for you guys to make these hard decisions. We're almost there. You guys are almost there. Like, I can't tell you how close we are. This fire department thing gets us over the hump, or really, really close. And the last thing I want to thank is the chief. He could pretty much make or break this deal. I mean, if he took a hard stance and said we're not doing it and turned the whole department against us, we'd be dead in the water. I think it'd be a PR nightmare, and it would just be a disaster. But with his help and his long vision and just the willingness to do what's best for his guys, I mean, they're going to get great things. And we have talked. We had another meeting with them, and he was there. We've talked, and I feel very comfortable that all those guys are going to get very well taken care of. They're going to have opportunities galore to move up, do cool things all over the world, or all over the county. Cool, not the world, all over the county. Things that they might be interested in. And if they want a quiet station out west, and they don't want to be running crazy things, well, then they can head out there. But his help in this situation has just kind of made the deal, and so not only is he protecting his guys, but he literally is kind of taking the whole city on his back and saying, I'm going to help get across the finish line with this 2030 thing, and it's amazing to me, because and you two that are on the fence a little bit, I appreciate your position, and hopefully we can get you there. I want it to be a unanimous decision. I hope everybody can feel comfortable with what we're going to do, because we're going to have a lot of messaging that we need to do if we decide to go this route. So anyway.
Can I just?
Yeah.
I'm going to reiterate what I said is a couple of years ago, whatever that was, when we were talking about getting rid of the ambulance service and have either Roy or Ogden City pick it up. For whatever reason, I don't know, well, I do know, I got involved, and I got involved in the numbers, and I got involved, okay, because the ambulance, it does have revenue production to it, and you know, if we contracted it out, we would lose that revenue production from an ambulance, but we wouldn't be paying to staff it. And and I got, for whatever reason, I got involved with it because to staff just, and it was, this is where, you know, when you're talking about the fire, you're talking about the whole package. The ambulance is just one small nugget in the whole package. And we went back and forth, and it was somewhat neutral, but the thing is the manning level, because you had to have manning levels in the overnight for the ambulance. And that's where we couldn't compete, and I hate to use that word. And so when you factor in, again, the economy of scale, meaning having a station here and a station here that can overlap. Now, even though we have mutual aid, it's not the same because you've got people in different stations that responding. And because I looked at that and saw the numbers for just that one nugget, I realized, boy, if you extrapolated this out over the whole department, it really changes the dynamics. And then when you throw in the capital improvements, meaning we need a new ambulance, which is $350,000, and we need a new ladder truck, which is $2 million, it's like, you know, it changes. It really, with that one understanding, and with this capital improvement or capital necessities that we are going to have to fund here in the very near future, this is, to me, is it, and believe me, I'm emotional about having a Riverdale, you know, with the Santa, but it's kind of one of those things that's time has come.
Well, just the safety aspect too. I think, you know, having, you know, like they were saying, somebody calls in and they're bringing somebody else from another station or something like that. I mean, you can't measure that.
So true. So true. Just deep resources. Anything else, Mr. Brooks?
No, not on that, Mayor. I did want to make a couple of comments on the upcoming events, on at least two of those, but go ahead.
Okay.
I'll jump in at the end.
Yeah, we'll move on from the fire department discussion and move on to the upcoming events. We appreciate Mr. Brooks being here. It looks like he's in his hotel room down there. He's at the city manager's conference, so we appreciate him joining us there. And that's a funny background. But so we do have the League of Cities and Towns mid-year conference this week. So excited for that. And we have the Young Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealership ribbon cutting. And Mayor Pro Tem Arnold is going to step into that role.
Just a second. Yeah. May I get a clarification? Did you say 10:30 for the Young, and on here it says 10? Is it be there at 10 for a?
I have it at 10:30.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you guys work that out.
I'd be there at 10 just to be sure.
I'd like to come right in at the wire. Because if I have to mingle with the,
and the Spikers will be there, and our relationship with them has improved massively, and so be ready. They're going to have you say something. They're going to kind of just let you do it. They're not going to do some of the things they used to do. Things have gotten much better, so
now,
they're going to let you run it.
Coat and tie, right?
He can be dressed however he wants. He can be in his shorts and flip flops and headed to Bear Lake.
I'll have a Young shirt on.
Good for you. Yeah.
We'll have the scissors and the ribbon at the front desk for you. Michelle won't be here either, so you can just pick them up.
That's tough. Okay.
Also, I also have 10:30, and I typed it wrong on the agenda.
Oh, it's 10:30.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Okay, very good. Okay, thanks for that clarification. Last thing is the budget review meeting on May 5th, which is our next meeting. Mr. Brooks, what comments did you have?
On the conference, those of of you who are coming down, again, we're staying at the Abbey Inn. I had this discussion with Michelle yesterday. I don't know for a big organization why it is so difficult for them to work those rooms out, but those should be, most likely they'll be in my name, but yours should be on there as well. But the rooms are reserved, so you're fine. Just make sure you can get the Abbey Inn. If it doesn't show up under my name or your name, then ask them about Michelle. I met with them again yesterday. This seems to happen every year. I don't know why, but I'll meet with them again before you guys get down here, so that should be cleaned up. But you do have a room, so you're safe. On the budget review meeting, I talked to Cody today. There's going to be a bunch on there, but one of the things he did request is a discussion item on a TNT. We just got word back from the state yesterday on some of those things, and they pushed some of those deadlines up. So my plan at this point is to list an actual budget item on there. It's again primarily for discussion, but it will be specifically related to truth in taxation. Again, all this plays into the whole fire thing. This is going to be a complicated budget process this year, but we have to look at those things, and Cody attended that meeting, and he got a lot of good information that's new, that didn't apply before, and a lot of those things that affected cities and districts and stuff last year, we've got to be careful with, and we've got to meet those deadlines. So you will see, before that meeting comes out, you'll see an agenda item on there. I don't want you to panic. It doesn't mean we're going to do it, but we may have to throw something on there for discussion, just mainly because of those deadlines. But just so don't be surprised. No decisions have been made. It's just one of the processes we got to do, and we got to jump in on it early. So I just wanted to state that while I had you here tonight. But any information we can get out to you in regards to that in advance, we'll have that to you. Again, hopefully even sooner, because some of that stuff we just got from the state, and we haven't gotten through it all the way. So, but don't panic. But that's all that. If you see it there, that's why. We're just moving, and it's a time constraint more than anything. So, and that's all I had on that stuff, Mayor.
Okay, we'll move on to the comments section. Oh, do you have something on the coming events?
Yeah, Mr. Brook, if it's okay, I know Cody does such a great job presenting those budget things, and normally that presentation is, we see it when we're here. We get some preliminary numbers prior to that. So I guess my only ask is if there's any way to get that as early as possible and maybe as robust as possible. He does a great job. I just love to see that as soon before May 5th as possible so we can review it. That's my only comment. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to the comments section. Any comments from the city council? Councilor Arnold?
I was approached by a resident, not my wife, to be clear.
So there is two residents.
It's actually,
A resident and the resident.
they're a bus driver for the school district. A couple of things. They wanted to thank Casey for the support that our Riverdale police has been giving them. They say that their reds, what they call them, get run every day, and they've gotten some support from our police department, and they wanted to say thank you for that. One of the things that they talked about was sitting up higher. They wanted to know if we can work with UDOT to clean up some of the garbage and concrete and things like that. They go to Layton and Clearfield and see like the plane and all the cool stuff that they're putting in out there, and that we're kind of forgotten a little bit. You know, they said even if you look at America First and what they're doing with the hillside, it looks so nice, and when it gets, you know, planted and all that stuff, it's going to be super cool. But if you look down in the on ramps and off ramps, there's just concrete and stuff that's debris that's in there, and they just was saying, how come we can't at least have clean stuff? So whoever's got the UDOT phone number to say please and whatever.
We'll work on that.
I noticed some of the same stuff on Riverdale Road, some of the weeds and stuff that's their maintenance.
Yeah.
And so we have made a phone call just this week, and we'll continue to try to make some of those. If you got specific areas that we can photograph and send to them, that helps.
Okay.
We've sent them some photographs already, but just to make sure we're not missing anything.
Yeah, she told me to, she said, I know you go in your car a lot, but go in your truck where you're sitting higher, you can see stuff a little better.
I agree.
So-
I've noticed it too, and we're working on it. But if you identify specific ones,
Okay.
We're also working on so they don't maintain behind the curb, so like over the viaduct here. We've been working on that this week as well, so hopefully that's getting cleaned up a little better on the sidewalk area.
If only we had an internationally recognized property maintenance code.
Well played. Okay, Counselor Stevens.
Okay, this is kind of for your information. Weber School District is having a downturn of enrollment. It's significant enough that they've lost, it's equivalent to Weber High School. The student body that attends the major high school, the enrollment is down that much, and it's displacing a number of employees, teachers, and that's also reflected in Riverdale Elementary. Okay, so that's just an FYI, and there's a number of reasons why that's happening, but that's, and I don't know if it's a trend that's going to maintain. I don't know. We don't know. And but that's just for information. The second thing is and I look at the newsletter that I get every week, and it's just, the party line propaganda. When are they projecting 4400 to open? Is there a date or a time frame?
You're seeing the exact same thing that they're telling us, so.
No. You guys sit in very high-level meetings, and you've got to have some better information than.
I honestly, they told us, I think the last meeting that we actually had with the mayor, they told us around the middle of May to the end of May.
Yes.
And I'm hesitant to even say that out loud in a meeting, because every time we say that, you know what happens. Like, they tell us one thing and we don't the other. The updates they send us is literally what they put out to the city or to the residents.
Did they pour concrete on the 17th?
They did pour a lot of the deck.
Okay.
Over I-15.
The last several times that I've been past there's been people working. I mean, it might be one guy with a shovel, but.
So a lot of the work is taking place at night because they're doing lane restrictions while they're doing it, and they don't want to do the lane restrictions during the day. So I've heard that numerous times in the last 2 weeks. Well, there's never normally work, and if you're up there at 5 o'clock in the morning, there's probably 20 guys up there a lot of mornings. Some mornings there might not be anybody, depending on what their schedule is or if they're letting the concrete cure or whatever. But they have not told us anything new. I'll send an email tomorrow, and if I get information, I'll pass it on to the mayor, and he can pass that on to you.
Okay, so and then the second part is they're driving the pylons for, is it 84?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, and I know that I don't know if that's going to prohibit 44 from being opened up or.
It will have slight, I would expect they'll open 4400 up before they slide the decks on 84. Unless they've changed their mind again, they was going to be a slide in place deck. So they'll pour them on site and then slide them over the openings. So that means they'll close the underneath while they're sliding them over, but it should be really short term compared to what's been going on.
Because I've been hit up a couple of times, and I've said May, but it, and again, I don't have the view.
Like I said, the mayor's seen what they've told us. We're just hesitant to even say anything lately because, and honestly, they've had great weather. You couldn't ask for a weather winter that was better than what we've had to get stuff done. And so I hope they're at least keeping this second commitment to get us open here shortly on the 4400 part.
Did I read they were going to redo the Roy roundabout just above that?
So that's actually a city project.
Okay.
So that could affect us right after we get open.
That's what I thought. I thought, oh no, they're going to open that and then.
And again, that's not a UDOT project.
Okay.
That's in Roy City, and that timing could be terrible if we.
It felt like it might.
Get open for a week and shut again. I don't know. I haven't heard from Roy any schedules on that, but I did hear some information. They was talking about a redo on the roundabout.
I hadn't heard that. Great. Anybody else? Councilor Anderson.
The information that I had seen on that was that it was the end of May for 4400 and October for 84. So,
We know the 84's behind it just because of the way they tried to keep it open so we could at least pass under it. So it restricted some of that. And they did tell us it would be later. I think what we've been keying in on is getting 4400 open again. That's problematic for everybody.
And 84, if I understood, it was maybe going to be like a 3-day while they just slide the new bridges in place. 4400 will be closed while they slide the 84 bridges in for 3 days. We'll see.
Well, then, I mean, it's 3 days, but they're rerouting through the Riverdale's surface streets.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Is there
Councilor
our
Arnold?
roundabout on 1050?
Yes, so we have a contractor. They're just going through their documentation and bonding and insurance and all that. So we're getting closer all the time. We don't have a schedule yet on it, but it should be this summer. The state's
Councilor
working
Anderson,
on that.
sorry.
I've been wondering, with Home Depot going in out in Clinton, Walmart going in West Haven, have we done any type of analysis? I mean, we're talking about the fire department and putting that to the fire district. Have we looked at or even considered what net effect we might be faced with some of this traffic that won't be coming to some of our businesses?
Oh, it's definitely a concern. I don't think we've
I
done
don't
actually
know
a
whether
hard
Mr.
numbers
Cardin
analysis at all. But
can forecast anything like that, or just kind of
yeah, he could work with
crunch
Mr.
some
Cooper. I
numbers.
don't think you've done any actual numbers, have you? But
It's hard to do numbers like that because a lot of we know our sales tax. We don't know the sales tax of other cities, so it's hard to extrapolate from that. And Walmart only publishes a per square foot kind of revenue number. All the big box people do. So we can do some general assumptions, but it is my number one concern is the economic pressure that we're going to see as the west side of the county develops in the green fields. I was thinking about this in the fire discussion. When you pick up one end of the stick, you pick up the other. And I think on one end of the stick, as we reduce the property tax for the citizens, we also reduce the property tax of our highest value assets, which is the commercial district. So I haven't done these numbers either, but just on a pure property tax level, my hunch is that the commercial properties are at a much higher taxable valuation than our homes because they're at 100% versus 55%. So as you reduce property tax for the homes, you reduce it for the commercial. So you increase that reliance on sales tax. And I think that's a scary strategy. So we're going to have some of the lowest property tax in the county, and that's great for citizens, but we now expect more out of our businesses. And when we see these economic pressures that are just going to continue to increase, you talk about what we can and can't control. Sales tax is the least controllable thing we have. And the whole reason why we're having this conversation is because we were acted upon by the state back in 2005, I think it was. And so we have no control over what businesses do, what the economy does. We've seen a number of businesses shut down and leave us, in a pickle. So to put ourselves further into that basket in terms of having all of our eggs, it's scary. So I think our policy decisions outside the vacuum of the fire department decision in terms of the 2030, I think contextually we got to look at policies across the board that's going to get us a bit more resilient and a bit more diversified.
And it's not just the west side either. If you ever drive north up to 2700, that whole thing's getting developed, and we're hearing that there's a Target going in right there, which will definitely affect ours because everybody from the north that comes this direction, they come to our Target, and that's going to change too. So we're getting hit all over the place. It's going to affect us. There's no question about it.
Councilor Richter, did you have something?
Just maybe those are heavy topics. So I just want to put on the record to Mr. Taylor, this new sport that they're doing for the youth, the street hockey thing, has been incredibly well received. I can't go to those things without not only the participants, but the community that are there watching, just enjoying the heck out of that. So I just wanted to pass on, I know he's not here, but Mr. Taylor, and compliments to starting that program. It seems to be very well received, so I
That's good. That's good to hear. Okay. Comments from the city staff?
One.
Mr. Douglas.
So I didn't want to say anything during the,
Oh,
go ahead.
you can go ahead, Steve.
I didn't.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, the one thing I was gonna say, I mean, we talk about, regulations and things like that. And many times we don't mention a lot of this stuff to you guys, but we get audited all the time for all over the place. It's just like a nonstop. I just finished one. I don't know it's completely finished with the police department on our BCI system. I actually had to go over and get fingerprinted for this thing because I'm listed as one of the individuals on top of that. I've never used it in my 20 years that I've been here, but these kind of things happen all the time, and we usually do really well with them. We've gotten to the point where we can handle those really well, but we did. And Sean, I don't know how much more you wanted to mention about this, but we got hit with one this week that Sean's been warning me about for months, if not years, and we've been holding our breath, and unfortunately we got the nasty gram. What was it, about 2 days ago, Sean? I don't know if you want to talk more about that one, but that involves our stormwater, and I don't know if there's more we can tell you, but just so you know, these things bog us down besides the fact that we get hit with all these changes and things like that. So don't be surprised if we don't have something coming as a result of that one too. And it's going to take a lot of time on Sean's part and his department stuff, and there's probably going to be some stuff that's going to come down from that we may have to make some adjustments and spend money to upgrade our systems and whatever else we need to do. But Sean, you want to talk anything more about that one? Or?
I was just going to kind of say the same thing. I think we brought this up in numerous meetings in the past that when this hits, like there's going to be financial impacts on it. Like we have not seen a city that, the last two cities that we've seen personally, 80 deficiencies was a low number, up into the 200s. And so we will have deficiencies. That's what they're here to do. We'll look at it as a training, get better type situation. Frankly, with our staffing, like we cannot do everything they want you to do. Our goal is to keep the water clean, and that's what we focus on, is that part of it. The record keeping, all the bookkeeping and that, like so they'll find deficiencies. We've known that. We've said that all along. In a way, it's good to be that it's happening, it's over and done with, and we can see what they're going to make us do. But it is concerning because I would think it has some kind of financial impacts, just even getting through the audit. And if they give us 100 to 200 deficiencies, getting through that and working out a plan with them to get through them, with a consultant, that'll be some money as well. But that was one thing I was going to mention. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and I didn't want to say it during the fire discussion because I think it's outside of that, but I think if you look at Chief Hennessy, he exemplifies what we have for employees here in Riverdale. And like I've told him this personally over the last month or two, but he stood up and he has said, I'll go either way and I'll do whatever's best for this city. And he has not made a stand one way or the other. And I think when you look for an employee that's got everything on the line, per se, I think that's the type of employees that you have here. And I'd just like to say in an open meeting how much respect I've had for him to watch as he went through this process and hasn't tried to swing it one way or the other. Honestly, it kind of chokes me up because I've watched him and he stood there with strong shoulders, and I know it's probably the toughest thing he's ever done. But that's the type of employees that we have here that, like, they're going to do whatever's best for you guys and for the city. And so I'd just like to tell him a huge thanks because no matter which way it goes, he had his guys and the rest of the city back no matter which way it went. So,
Thank you. Completely agree. Okay, any other comments from the staff? I just had one quick comment. I don't know how many of you had a chance to work with Angel Mejia. He is the guy we hired that kind of took Chris Stone's place, and he's just a pleasure to work with. I hope you can pass that on to him. Like I said, I had a subject for my newsletter, and residents have been hitting me up about being considerate, and it's everything from pets to the trail. It's just kind of an overall being more considerate. And I had my newsletter kind of ready, thought out before I shifted gears, and I said, Angel, can you just write something up and put it in the newsletter? And he wrote me the most beautiful thing. And I know how he probably did it, but still, it's beautiful. It's exactly encapsulates what I wanted. And then he sent me a draft. And then I wrote this huge newsletter this month that just blew his thing off the page and was like, I'm sorry, Angel, you're going to have to rearrange everything because I wrote this big, obnoxious piece, But I felt like it was super important. And he's like, oh, no problem. He just is so easy to get along with. And he's really stepped into it. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he could help with that water stuff. Like he's pretty good with computers, and he might be able to aggregate some of those rates and figure out what people are using. And really, if Angie has the data, I'd get those two together. And
So we've already started using him on this audit,
Yeah.
like he's already putting information out for us, and like
Yeah.
he's very helpful for all of us to work with too.
he's a
It's
quiet
easy
little
to-
guy, but he gets stuff done. And so if you get a chance to see him or meet him, he's just doing a great job for the city, just like all the other employees. He just fits in perfect and just does exactly what we expect from our Riverdale city employees. So anyway, tell him thanks if you see him. And that's all I have. So with that, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All right, we're adjourned.
Okay, just so you know, these chairs are the nearest comfortable.
I don't know why they're standing up.
Mayor, do we not have RDA meeting?
Oh, shoot.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, crap.
I said, did I miss something on my
man.
drive-in?
I was so excited.
Now that you mention it.
But we need to do it, though. We need to do it. All right.
I'm all right with it.
We would like to welcome everybody to our Riverdale City RDA Board meeting for Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. Let the record show all board members are present, as well as members of the city staff. We are going to skip public comment because we have no members of the public here. There's no presentations. We will move on to consent items. Consideration to approve the meeting minutes from September 16th, 2025. Can't believe it's been that long since we had an RDA meeting. And the work session. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Seeing none, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All right, those are approved. We'll move on to the action item. Number 1, discussion and consideration of Resolution R 2026-01, modifying the application of the demand feature for certain housing rehabilitation program loans to allow temporary non-occupancy without triggering acceleration. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. You guys all remember this. I brought this up a month or two ago. I can't remember. This all blends together anymore. But the more I thought about this is the first time this has happened in my 20-plus years here. Ironically, we have another one maybe on the back burner too, a little bit different. But what I didn't want to do, I got thinking, if we get in there and make some big drastic change as far as just designating you, an appeal authority, then I don't know how much that's going to complicate it, because then are we going to have to go back and start changing all these contracts. So I took a little bit of a different approach on this and basically just attack this one case in and of itself. And it's kind of explained in the executive summary there that that's kind of what I did. I think it serves the purpose because you guys can make that decision if that's what you want to do. We can resolve their case for now and then kind of move on without having to affect anything else. So I was trying to keep it as short and as simple as I possibly could, but still obtain, the results that we needed. And if another one comes up, we can come back in and do the same thing. But I actually had asked Brandon and Michelle to try and find some back records of the authority that the RDA board has, and we haven't even been able to find that yet, because that's going to go back a ways. And that's what I referred to in that executive summary. We may have to readdress that at some point in time in the future, just so we do have a good record of that. But at this point, I didn't want to do that right now, so we took this approach, which is a little bit different, but it would still give them the option to get out of that contract if that's what you guys want to do. So, it is contrary to what we've done in the past, but it is also different than what we've had in the past. So I don't have any real big heartburn over it. I know Stacy's doesn't really like the idea, and she feels that, the contracts were a contract and we should be following them, but it is a little bit different situation, and I understand that too. I understand her position on it, but the feeling I got from the council last time is you wanted us to at least look at this and try to work something out with them, and so that's what my attempt was on this one.
Questions for Mr. Brooks? Okay. Board Member Arnold.
I would move to approve Resolution 2026-1 as stated within the packet.
We have a motion And a second. Any discussion on that motion?
And just to clarify, this is addressing only this loan, right? This is not an overall policy
That is
change.
correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Just this one. Good question. Good clarification.
Can I
Yeah.
complicate things just slightly? Sorry,
Complicate
Steve.
it for us.
So on section 1.1 in the resolution, it does give a timeline that we talked about a little bit. So it's 24 months. So basically, if you don't occupy the home for 24 months, then that doesn't trigger the acceleration clause. If it's the 25th month, then we're right back to square one. That there's no determination of when that 24 months starts. So because we're just applying it to this one loan, they've been out of that home for, I think, 16 months or something, Steve. So we haven't answered the question in the ordinance as to when that period would begin. I just wanted to bring that up if you wanted to include that in the motion or modify the resolution, or just leave it at 24 months and then that ends for this particular applicant in the next few months.
I think, Brandon, didn't we have verbiage in there towards the end that allows the executive director to implement the intent of this? So we may already be covered with that. That's towards the end.
Yeah.
I think if you guys could just give me some direction on that, then we'll just handle it from here if that's what you guys want to do. So I think we'd be fine on that. And I had asked Brandon to double check on that, and I don't know that we even had time because that was like yesterday when I was asking to follow through on that, and I've been down here, I haven't been able to do anything. So I think we're okay. If you guys want to pass it as is, I think we're okay tonight. But that is a valid point. We've got to establish that at some point. I didn't know how long he was going to be gone was the problem. So
I talked to Stacy and
she away to school. That could be 4 years. It could be 8 years. I don't know. But so we'll have to still iron that out. But if that's your intent, we'll take care of it.
Board Member Arnold?
I think we let you handle it as the executive director, and if it becomes a problem, then bring it back. You know, if you're thinking, hey, this is more than I want to decide on my own kind of thing.
I'm fine with that. As long as you guys feel okay with it, we'll handle it. We'll get it taken care of.
Put a foreclosure clause in that you bring to the council or something where it's like, this is being abused, bring it to the board for a foreclosure or something.
But the overall intent,
I think the point that Brandon brought up, though, we got to have some parameters in there. This could be completely open-ended, and so the 24-month terminology in there I thought was pretty valid. We just may have to tweak things a little bit as to when we started and ended. So,
Board Member Richter?
just clarifying, the overall intent, though, is not to exceed 24 months of non-occupancy, right?
well, I wouldn't want to, because that was the whole point of this, is that, if they're not living there and they're renting that out, they're basically using city money, the housing money, to make money kind of thing. So the whole purpose of having those contracts in the first place was to kind of prevent that. But as it stands right now, that shouldn't be an issue, I'm hoping. But we're going to have to talk to them, because I don't know exactly where they stand or where they're at.
Thanks for the information.
Yeah.
Everybody okay to keep moving forward? Okay. Ms. Maragoli, will you please poll the board?
Board Member Hanson,
Yes.
Member Richter,
Yes.
Board Member Stevens,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Arnold.
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Very good. Any comments for this meeting from the board or the city staff? I don't have any. We would need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned.
Now you can
Safe
stand up.
travels to those who are coming down. Bring your shoes. We'll go walk the stairs one night.
Oh, yeah.
That
Glad I can't make it.
that went off so fast.
Night, Steve.
I went to Kristen. I said,
Really?
well, so he has his comment,
Yeah.
and then I replied to his comment, and I went to bring it up to talk. I was like, Kristen, I probably should.